Welcome to another episode of Going For It with Becker. As you know, if you listen to me, I talk a lot about realtors or real estate agents becoming the agent that they would hire and the importance of playing the long game in this business. Today's guest is someone who doesn't just talk about those principles, he lives them. I'm joined today by Arnold Hickey, a fusion partner based out of Phoenix, Arizona, who has built an absolute terrific business. Arnold has increased his business in just over 3 years from $135,000 in GCI to over $1 million in GCI. When I look at Arnold, I see somebody who is full of energy, who has the integrity that every professional in this industry should strive for. In this episode, we dive into Arnold's fascinating journey from his early days as a top producer in Canada to his relaunch and struggles he faced moving into the U.S. market. We talk about why most agents are stuck in a rat wheel existence and how Arnold shifted from chasing transactions to actually building a relationship-driven business engine. We discussed the hard lessons Arnold learned about hiring younger versions of himself and how he finally found the right people to help him climb towards his massive goals. Arnold is a true student of the game, and his insights on the things that agents should do to be successful and the things that they should stay away from will certainly be worth the listen. Whether you're a brand new agent or someone looking to cross that $1 million threshold, this conversation is absolutely packed with gold. Let's dive in. Welcome to another episode of Going For It with Becker, and today we have one of our fusion partners, one of our esteemed fusion partners, Arnold Hickey, who is an agent that is out of Phoenix, Arizona. He has a tremendous business. It has rapidly grown over the last 3 or 4 years. Arnold, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, James. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you for being here. So let's start off by you just kind of giving an outline of who you are, where you came from, and just kind of a summary a little bit about who you are as a person and as a real estate agent.
It's great. Well, I've been in the industry for about 25 years and formerly from Canada, had 10 years in Canada and 15 years in the United States. Had great success when I started out up in Canada, and then I get into the brokerage business for a few years and spun that all off and come down to the United States. And I said, I'm just going to repeat all the same practices down here that I did up there. And I'll be very honest with you, I struggled for quite a few years coming in here, getting into the marketplace and getting things going. It was a lot more difficult than I thought it would be.
What were those struggles that you were having, if you were to identify them? What were the things that you found the most difficult in your mind?
That's a great question. Up in Canada, when I first got into the industry in 2000, I did a lot of cold calling, chased a lot of expired listings, and my first year, I think I sold 40 houses. Then I did 70. The third year, I did 100. A lot of hard work.
It's a grind doing that.
Yeah. And I thought, well, that's fine. When I come down here, I'm just going to do the same thing. But, the laws changed with do not call, and people are on cell phones instead of landlines. And it was the whole process was very different. So getting relaunching was a big challenge for me. Yeah.
Well, I think people in Canada are nicer than the people in the United States in general. At least and so you probably had more hang-ups and more curt conversations in the States than maybe you had in Canada. And so that might have been it. I don't hear the accent until you start saying the word Canada, and then I hear it coming out a little bit. So you came down here, and so that was hard. What else did you struggle with?
Um, I guess just launching the business, getting it going, that would be the biggest thing, and getting the systems in place. I've always been very systems driven. Initially, like I say in the beginning, I was just chasing expireds, and I knew all my matrix, all my numbers, and then I got a good system going with the CRM. I used Top Producer up there, great
Yep.
follow, all of those kinds of things. But
Yep.
getting that center of influence built again,
Yep.
I guess would be a big struggle.
Take
Yeah.
some time. You know, that cold calling, that's how I started in the business. You know, I was a Mike Ferry mentee, if you will. And so that was the program that I went through. And I still remember in 1993, I was having the best year. It's my third year in the business. And I was with my mentor. And it was December. We were in Carmichael driving on Fair Oaks Boulevard. I still remember exactly where I was. And he goes, you know the great thing about December? I go, what? He goes, we get to start all over again January 1.
Yeah.
And it was like he took a 2x4 and smacked me across the head. And I don't want to start over. Like, I'm killing myself
Yeah.
doing the work that we're doing. And I have to say that was the genesis of me starting to figure out, how do you grow a business that doesn't require you to do everything. And recently I just had this analogy where I was looking at my grandfather was a peach rancher, and he had all these different orchards, and there's a lot of farmers in Gridley where he was at that also raise rice. Well, rice you do every single year, but once you have an orchard, that orchard produces
Yes.
fruit year after year, 15 to 20 years before you have to replace the trees. But it doesn't
Yes.
produce very much in the beginning. And I think a lot of agents really struggle with that concept of, investing in something that has legs that can last a long time. Did you struggle with that concept yourself?
I transitioned, like I was saying, from cold calling to expireds, that kind of thing, into learned very early in the business, probably around year three, the difference between chasing a transaction and building a business. And
Yep.
that's when I switched to building the business. And that's when I got the CRM and got it. And I had a good center of influence. And once that got built, just like you're saying, James, my business was pretty much on autopilot, if I can put it that way. You still
Yep.
got to get up every day. You got to do the follow-up. You still all
Yep.
of your daily practices. But what I learned really early on is if I stop making cold calls, my business stops. When
Yep.
I built CRM, which is a list of relationships, if I don't call or follow up or do something, my business does not stop. It keeps going. Now, you can't stop for very long, mind you, but you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
you
It
got to
is
keep, you have
very,
to
very,
water the orchard trees. Speaking of farming and rice, I was in California, and the Pacific Flyway for waterfowl goes right down the middle of the Central Valley. And for about a decade, I was really into duck hunting and goose hunting. And it's one of those things that if you get into it, people are just kind of crazy about it to a certain extent. And during this time is when I was doing the cold calling and all this stuff. And when the wind blows, that's when ducks fly. And so I'd be out and be 11 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden the wind would start to pick up. And I'd be, oh man, should I work? Should I go hunting? And then I'd
yeah,
have this fight, and every single time the hunting would eventually win out. And I'd have to drive like 2 hours to get to my blind. And it's actually an hour and a half. And then it would be about a 45-minute walk
wow.
into the blind through mud and muck. I mean, it was some work to get there. It was an addiction. But every single time I'd have this battle back and forth, and I would drive out there, and then I would get into the duck blind, and I would immediately say, I should be working. I
Yeah.
would feel super guilty because I knew my business was dying because I wasn't working, and you cannot stop with the cold calling, and it's just like it's like a rat wheel type of existence. And I see these guys. There's a gal that is got a really great downline at EXP, and they have a culture of salespeople, and they've got a really great sales trainer that pumps people up, and every morning they're on there. But I look at that, and they're closing deals, but to me, it's not sustainable.
Yeah, correct. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I put everything today into the CRM. It is a list of relationships. If I don't, it's not uncommon for me to get today 3 to 4 phone calls a week of people saying that I don't even know. And they're saying, we see your name all over the place. We need to sell our house. Will you come list our house for sale?
Yeah.
And that's the kind of business that I wanted to build, and that's what I have.
Yeah, and you've really had some great success in compounding the business since you started with us, I think in 23. I don't know if it was early or late, but you were sharing with me some numbers the other day. Can you share those again for the people that are listening?
Yeah. 20, 2020, let's go to 2022. I think my GCI was right around about 135,000. Early 23 is when I joined Fusion. I think I went to 385 that year,
Wow.
385,000 my first year.
Wow.
My second year, which was 2025 with Fusion. No, that's wrong.
That would be 24, right? The 23 would
24,
be the
yeah.
first year. Yep.
Yep. Yep. 2024, I did 712,000
Wow.
GCI. And 2025, I just topped over $1 million GCI last year.
That's
So
amazing. Fusion is the best when we're supporting somebody who is just a high level, high integrity person. In you've probably heard me talk about our number one fundamental about being the agent that you would personally hire. Tell me a little
yeah,
bit about how you approach the level of service that you're providing people. How do you look at that? How do you do things on purpose? That kind of stuff.
that's a good question, James. I go out every day, and you hit the nail on the head. I be the person that I would want to hire. If I was going to sell my house, what would I want? If
Right.
I was the client, what would I expect? And we look at this. We are in the service business, and it's my job to service the clients at a very high level. I have a lot of competition in this community that I am in, and I just go out and service everybody better than anybody else can do it, and communicate, stay in touch with them. And fusion is such a huge part of that. Now, so I've been in the United States now full time for 16 years. Okay. For 13 years, I've been trying to build this thing. And 3 years with Fusion, it has exploded. So Fusion is the back end, the support of everything that I never get the time to do or to follow through to do myself. And that's what I've contracted out to you guys. I need something, and you got a team that's right on top of it. I don't even have to think about it. I don't question it. This is what I want. This is what they do, and your team is just phenomenal, James. So that
Well,
I give a lot of credit to Fusion, no question.
I really appreciate that. I'll ask agents, how many people here would hire themselves as the agent that they would list their home if you didn't know who you were?
Yeah.
And they all raise their hands. And I'm like, oh, please, you guys are delusional because they're not providing, somebody in their office provides a much better level of service than they are. And
Yeah.
real estate agents are very demanding on what they expect from the service providers that they use. At least that's been my experience with the people that we've partnered. Our partners have high expectations of us, and they keep us on our toes. And so and I think there's this thing that when people know that they're really, subconsciously they're telling themselves, I'm the best, but they know that they're not. And when you actually do the work, and again, this is cliche, and I talk about this a lot, but I think a lot of people, when they actually do the hard part of being the agent that they would hire, which means you answer the phone, you call people back,
100%.
you show up on time,
Yeah.
you actually listen to people's concerns and respond, and, just really basic stuff. And then that you ask yourself, like, what is it that's going to make me better in the marketplace? What do I have to do to deliver at a higher level of value? And when you do those things, I believe, and you can tell me if it's, if you even think about this or not, but that you start to believe that you deserve the business, that if someone doesn't choose you, that they're going to lose out. It's a bad thing for someone not to choose you. And that's the way I feel about Fusion when we're talking to someone, they don't choose us. Like, you have no idea what you're missing out on, but that's so powerful. It's like an X factor for someone who's a star. Is there anything you'd like to share about that? Do you agree? Do you disagree?
That's a good point. I have, first off, I'll say I walk out of every single appointment and I always question myself, what did I do well? Where did I maybe didn't go as far as I should? And what should I do better the next time? I question myself every time. Now, you mentioned about when somebody doesn't choose me, I got a bit of a joke on that. And I was on a listing appointment and a lot of people here interview multiple agents. It's not uncommon, probably 90% of the time. They're talking to other agents as well. And so we go through the whole listing appointment, the whole presentation, and the seller says, well, full disclosure, he says, we're going to talk to a couple more agents. And I say, and you should. I said, this is a big decision for you. It's a big step, and you should make sure you're hiring the right people. But I want to tell you, and I tell you, I don't know where this came from, James. It just fell off my lips. I said, this happens 98% of the time to me. I can honestly tell you 98% of the time people choose me. I said the other 2% of the time they just get it wrong. And, and then I thought, where in the heck did that come from? But it became a joke. And they said, when I was leaving, she says to me, she said, you need to get a t-shirt made. We're in the Arnold Hickey 98% club. I went on Amazon and I made them a t-shirt and I sent it.
I love it. That's great. I love that.
Yeah, and they choose me.
That's such a great line. When you first came to us, your big, hairy, audacious goal was to get to $500,000 in commissions, and you've doubled that since then. And what are your long-term goals? What do you want out of this business long-term? What do you want out of the rest of your life? Like what gets you excited?
Well, what's getting me excited now, like I built this engine, if we'll call it that. The systems are in place, are working well, and now I'm taking on some partners to continue to grow this, and I can step back a little bit and not have to put in as many hours, but I can manage the people, manage the systems, manage the processes a little better, and do that. And then I don't have to work as many hours as I did. And that's been a struggle for me because, hey, we grew fast. We grew hard and fast. And having the right people on the bus was difficult to get that.
You had a struggle with a couple of people that you hired. And you hired younger Arnolds
Yeah.
And that
Right.
was the problem. You would think that would be a good idea. Do you want to talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, and you're right. I hired a couple of people that I thought were going to work alongside of me, and like you guys, Fusion says that we need somebody in this community that's going to go out and tell Arnold Hickey every day and be proud to be here, which they were, but they also wanted to build their own book of business. I
Yep.
had them on a commission split system. And I told them before I even hired them, if you want 100% commission, you're on the wrong house
Yep.
because that's not what this system is. But they come and join me anyway because they wanted to learn from me. And it was only a short time that they get 4 or 5 deals in the books and saying, well, gosh, I'm giving him 30%. I could be up the street and I could get 100%. And then bang,
Right.
away they go.
And how did those people do once they left? Are they still in business? Are they competing with you, or what's their situation?
They're still in the business, and I watched them. That was, I think, around March of 2025. Both of
Hmm.
them had 4 and 5 transactions in the books, and they've been with me for a couple of months at that point.
Yep.
Um, one guy never did one deal all the rest of 2025, never did anything. And
He got
the other
100% of
gal,
nothing.
yeah, exactly. And the other gal, I think she probably did about 8 transactions throughout the year, 5 of which she did with me.
Yep.
Um, not a huge thing. So, I mean, they didn't gain a lot, but you know what? I gained a lot because we made the right steps. Something that I learned and I have hung on to since we were in Denver. I can't remember who the speaker was, but he says, if you want to climb Mount Everest, and if the people on your team never got above 2,000 feet level, you will never get above 2,000 feet level.
Yep.
You got to have the people on your team that are willing to go to the top and that are familiar with with the climb. And that's what I have now. And boy, I tell you what a difference. It's really
Yeah.
great.
I think one of the things that a lot of real, and you and I talked about this about a year ago, because we talked about the team members that you had and you were struggling, and I got in on a call with you. I don't know if you remember this, but
Oh,
so many agents hire versions of themselves.
yeah,
And the problem with that is those agents are super entrepreneurial,
yeah,
and they have strong belief system, and they want to be you,
yeah,
and they want to do it immediately.
yeah,
And what I have found with my own business, and you worked with Lewis, who has since retired,
yeah.
but just a wonderful person.
Wonderful.
He
Yeah,
used to be what I'd say my longest relationship, business relationship I had in. We used to joke about that, but um, he uh, he was such a great support, but he didn't want to rain make,
yeah,
and so he needed me to rain make.
yeah,
And so you can have great people, but if they're rainmakers and you're a rainmaker, the person who controls the business is the person who's the rainmaker. And to me, when you're hiring support people or the backup dancers that we talk about, this Beyonce backup dancer business model that we kind of joke about, you want to have really reliable people. But if it's better if they're not rainmakers,
yeah,
which is a very special skill, um, because they're dependent upon the rain that you're making. And this is the same thing with law firms and whatnot. Some people generate business, and some are good, in court. It's two different things, right?
yeah, yeah.
And so I know that was a frustrating process for you. If you're talking to a brand new agent that's coming into the business, what are you telling them? What's your advice for them?
Big thing is I would have to say you've got to get out, you have to get in front of the people. You have to get that system somewhere that you can get in front of the people. You have got to build relationships and you have to continue to nurture those relationships. Now, you were going to start off small, and it is like I always tell everybody, this is not sexy work in the beginning. It is not easy work, but you have to get out of bed every single day and you have to do these minimum steps to go out and meet people and to build that database. And I've told a lot of people that's worked for me in the past, you got to sit down and make a list of everybody that you know. I did that when I started in the business. My broker told me, he said, I'm going to tell you what to do. But he said, I'm telling you right now, nobody ever does it. But it's the best thing you can do to drive your business forward. And I said, okay, I'm listening. You've been doing it 20 years. I've been doing it 20 days. What is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. He said,
So,
make a list of everybody you know, and then you call them all up.
yeah.
And you're going to go through that list and you're going to say, well, that person I wouldn't call anyway. Just put them on a D list, get rid of them, delete them. But call everybody and go and meet with them, reconnect. And then that's your base that you're going to start with. And I did that in the beginning. I did lots of trends. Really, my first year was 30 some deals right off of that.
Yep.
Right there. But
what advice would you give an agent who is doing $150,000 in business and wants to do $500,000 or $1 million? What advice would you give them?
I would take a look at it and ask them, are you connecting with your current database? All the transactions that you're doing, what is your follow-up plan? And get that into place. I had a guy that I trained, took into the business. He sent me I don't want to get off track here, but he sent me a text message. He'd been in for probably 6 months about that time. And he said, here's a whole list of people that I've done business with. And he said, I want to send this text message out. And he said, what do you think of this? And he sent it to me. And I said, it's very well written. I like it. But if you want to make another $150,000 this year, the next year, I said, don't send it. He said, well, why? What do you mean? I said, pick up the phone and call every single one of them. Do not send them a text message. And the more connections you do, the more that you are going to grow your business. So we need to connect with our existing, and we have to continue to build that pipeline as well, build that CRM. And I like your numbers, and I agree with your numbers, James. What your model is if we have our numbers up to in the 500 range in our CRM, that is worth X amount of dollars a year. And
well, if you're executing, because our main thesis about the whole thing with Fusion is that people just don't execute. They just don't do it.
Correct.
And it's an analogy of someone sitting on a gold mine, and they've got maybe a pan, a pick, and a shovel, but that's it. Yeah. And you can't build a big business with your own labor. And how important do you think it would be for someone who's to take a look at what we're doing if they're in that range and they want to grow?
At what you mean, Fusion, or what we're doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Fusion.
Yeah. Oh, it's to me, that is the single best thing you could ever do. And you have got to build that business. I mean, you have the system there. One of the things that was put to me when I was first approached with Fusion is we've all done it. We go to a conference. 3-day conference, whoever it is, Tom Ferry, whoever, we come out super excited, and we are going to change our lives. We're going to change our business. Within 30 days, we stop doing all that stuff, and we go back to doing things the way we did. And what was put to me and said that Fusion, all that stuff you should be doing, you learned at the conference, Fusion does all that stuff for us. And just let them do it. And that's kind of...
Yeah, running an operation is so much harder than what the gurus suggest, because I think it was Tom that says, when you get done with this 5-day conference, go home, find someone who's not doing a lot of business and tell them, I'm going to have you do this and I'll give you a part of the thing. And then you've got someone who's working in your business. That's not been my experience. Hiring, training, paying, managing the legal aspects of it. I mean, there's so many pitfalls when you're actually running a business, and a lot of people can do it, but you can't do everything. And so it's kind of like that gold mine thing again, where I just recently came up with this, but I really like this analogy. It's kind of like you have a gold mine and you've got a ton of gold, but you can't get to it because you've just got the one shovel and you have to do everything. Where Fusion's kind of a mining company. Like we've got all the drills, we've got the tractors, we've got the labor, we've got the capital to come in and really build, things to grow. And I really like that analogy in our joint ventures. We take a little bit of what's going out there, but the difference is the solo miner, if you will, isn't getting anything. They're just getting a nugget here and there, and this is getting in and actually building a business. At least that's the way I like to think it. Just out of curiosity, do you have anything that is on your mind about the business, or where you think the business is going, or what are your thoughts as we talk about in the beginning of 2026?
Yeah, I right now have double-digit market share in the market that I'm in, and that's just after 3 years.
Yep.
Is to continue to grow that, and I'm a firm believer in take what I'm good at and do more of it.
Yep.
That I'm not good at gets hired and let somebody else do that, and then that's where Fusion comes in. Like for me to build all of these marketing materials and to do all of this follow-up and everything that you do,
Yep.
that's
And
not
now
my
the
strength.
recruiting that you're going to be a part of, that we're going to help bring into
Exactly.
the.
Yeah. Grow and do the focus on the people, get out in front of the people, get into the community, build the relationships, continue to foster on those. And that's going to be obviously my strength, continuing to be my strength going forward, has been in the last 3 years, and that's going to continue. So
Yeah, I think for me, what I see is we have fewer and few people that are willing to play the long game, and more people who want to play the short game. And the short game is a death spiral. And so the people who are doing well are going to do better, and we'll have more turnover. And I think that's what's happened, with this NAR lawsuit thing, where people now have to have a conversation about getting paid before and getting a contract signed before they show homes. I think a lot of people just don't have the confidence to be able to do that. And so people like you, Arnold, that have that ability to sit down and justify value and explain value for what it is that you're doing, is going to get more of that business. I believe that to be, if someone has a niece and, hey, can the niece show you home? Sure, not a problem. But if the niece comes in and says, okay, sign this contract that you're going to pay me $25,000, and that's different than having the niece go out and show homes, and those types of things. So, Arnold, this has been a really fun conversation. One of the great things about Fusion is that we have so many great people in our organization that I get to connect with and interact with, and as you know, in real estate, there's a lot of people that are about themselves and are just trying to make a living, and so sometimes they're a little short-sighted, and for our group, because we're really looking for those people who want to build something long term, we just end up with the best people. And I have to say, you're one of those people that are at the top of my list, and I really respect you and what you've built, and which is so interesting, because I was having this conversation with one of my employees the other day, who wants to look good all the time and put this facade out, and I was saying, I think real strength is being humble and human and being willing to make some mistakes, and that's really a sign of strength. And I think that you emphasize those qualities at a very high level, and I appreciate being in business with you. And so, thank you so much.
Thank you. And I really appreciate that. And you're 100% correct. We don't have to go out there. We are going to make mistakes. We don't have to go out there and try and defend the mistake we made. Just take responsibility for it and
100%.
fix it. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. So,
Arnold, thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you soon.
see you again soon. Thank you very much, James. It's a pleasure.